Welcome to Enough Already. I'm your host, Lauren Craddock, and here we explore minimalism as a lifestyle and explore other transformative habits that create space for what matters most. I'm excited you're here today because in this episode, I'm going to take you back to my biggest enough already moment. And that's centered around clutter and minimalism. And my hope is by the end of the episode today, you will not only see versions of your own clutter, exhaustion, striving through my story, but that you will also have different ways forward as well. I did not wake up one day wanting to be a minimalist. If you said that word around me, I may have looked at you a little strangely and thought, there's no way I could ever be that. Because when I heard that word, I thought it's just someone who owns nothing or who owns one pair of shoes and one car. And while some minimalists might be that extreme, that's not the criteria for minimalism. But at the time, I didn't know that. What I do know is that during that time, when I reached my enough, I need a different way forward moment, I was dealing with constant clutter, constant exhaustion from that clutter, feeling like I was constantly cleaning and never getting anywhere. And I was tired of managing things. I wanted to live with more purpose and have more time to do things that I wanted to do. So that's where I was in that enough already moment. But let me take you back to an earlier time period because I think that will make a little bit more sense to have context. So I'm going to take you back to where it started. I grew up in a middle-class household, and in that household, we learned about hard work. We learned about earning your own way, which are two fantastic traits that really got me far into where I am today. And with that came this idea of like saving, using what we have and saving it. And so when I got married to my husband, Aaron, in 2011. He was fresh out of school. I wasn't even out of school yet. And we lived in this 2-bedroom duplex that had carpeted kitchens. Yes, carpeted kitchens, bugs in the wall. And it was $450 a month. And we just thought we had arrived. We had our own place. We were so excited. We were young in love and filled with just possibilities of what everything could be like. And we were super grateful because we had supportive friends and family members who gave us pretty much everything that we had. So I only remember buying a kitchen table, and that was after doing returns from wedding gifts in order to buy that piece of furniture. And then the other piece of furniture I remember purchasing at the time was this red sofa couch from Goodwill. And besides that, everything else was given to us, which was, again, such a gift. A couple years after that, we moved to a larger rental. And then we bought our first home in 2017. And so it was this beautiful 2-story farmhouse. And it was at this time that we were both making really great salaries. And we were able to purchase all of our own furniture for that house. But I couldn't quite let go of some of the pieces of furniture and a lot of the items that we had been given. Because I thought we might need this someday. Like it may not work in this house, but we might need it for a future house. And I don't want to be without it. In addition, I was way into all of the organizing shows and loved just watching how they organized things by color and baskets and type. And I thought, this is going to be my home. I am going to have a beautiful home with all these closets just completely organized. That was my intention at least. And that's what it started. We had so many closets. And so I began buying all these baskets and organizing our items. We also had a 3-car garage in this home. And so I had my dad come and help us build this shelving up above our cars and shelving in the corner. And we started filling it with childhood toys from our childhood, as well as all of our seasonal stuff and collecting items because my husband is very much a collector at heart. You'll hear me say that a lot. And he would buy and sell different items. And so pretty soon that third bay of the garage began to fill up. But I thought, not a big deal. Like we can still pull our 2 cars in. And I also had a membership to a wholesale store. And so I bought tons and tons of things in bulk. I thought, oh, Aaron and I will be prepared. Remember, it was only the 2 of us at the time. And so I would be stocked for toilet paper and toothpaste and toilet cleaner and all kinds of items for months and months and months, sometimes years. If you read my book, you'll hear more of that story. And I felt like we had entered this golden age of now we have the space to store all of our stuff. But then I noticed over time that some of those baskets were getting cluttered and starting to overflow. And I started noticing that that third bay of the garage was creeping over into the second bay. I noticed that the closets, it was hard to get into our clothes closet now. I thought, okay, I'm doing something wrong. Like, let me go back to social media and book resources and figure out what I need to do. So I spent huge chunks of time just cleaning, organizing, reorganizing, and just drowning in this clutter cycle. And it was at that point that I had one kid and was working full time and then also teaching at the University of Alabama. And I remember feeling completely overwhelmed, going, why is it taking me 1 to 2 hours in the evening to reset this space? Like, I just want to be able to come home, cook a great meal, enjoy my family, and then have time to refresh and read and be ready for the next day. And so as at this point, that I was pretty discouraged because I had tried declutter. I had tried all the organizing things I'd come across, all the decluttering things I'd come across. And it was at this point in 2020, 2021 that I was introduced to the concept of minimalism through Joshua Becker's books. And my world began to open up. And I realized that this narrow mindset that I'd had of minimalism was not actually a true representation of what it was and what it could do for me. And I began realizing that things could be different. And so I began systematically going through the items in my house. But what was different this time, I was more aware of my perspective and what I like to call the stories I told myself. So in the background of our mind, there, and sometimes in the conscious part of our mind, there are these stories that we tell ourselves of, I deserve this, I can afford this, I might need this someday, and et cetera, et cetera. And these stories keep us trapped in these clutter cycles without even realizing it. And I began noticing that there was this cycle of discomfort, and then I would acquire whatever said item was. I might even have temporary relief, but then there would be discomfort or clutter or overwhelm, and then it would repeat again because I would look for that next fix almost. And so by learning to stop and take inventory and be aware of these stories that I had going on, I was able to begin moving forward in a different way. These stories, they don't make us bad. They make us human. But if they're unexamined, they keep us stuck. And so, for example, with beauty products, I went through a stage where I had frizzy hair and I had really bad adult acne. And I felt self-conscious and I thought there has to be this perfect solution out there. And so I would go on social media or hear about from friends these new systems that I need to try. And I would order them and try them for a little while and they wouldn't work. And so they'd go to the back of my cabinet when I would see another one that might work better. And it was this constant cycle that I was in. Instead of stopping and realizing my identity didn't have to be in those beauty products to begin with. I could instead stop and find my identity. For me, it was in my faith, in my God. Find my identity in Him, first and foremost. And then also not keep myself on this cycle of buying it failed me, and putting all my hope into that product. Because that's actually what was happening is I had this full hope and expectation in a thing that couldn't deliver the way that I wanted it to. So minimalism helped me see that I had spent too much time managing stuff rather than living the life that God had called me to live, rather than living out my fullest potential, rather than enjoying my life. Minimalism didn't just help me clear the space. It helped me reevaluate everything from my time to my commitments, habits, purchases, expectations for myself. Minimalism became a filter through which I evaluated everything in my life. So one of the clearest places that I see it's changed for me is in the way that I buy things. And like I mentioned a little bit ago, I began to be aware of my buying cycles and was able to stop myself and ask myself, why am I buying this to begin with? Am I bored? Am I trying to fulfill a need in myself? Like, what's the story that I'm telling myself? What's the narrative? This is not I'm going to wait till the end of the week to buy this large money item. No, this is stopping and saying, why am I buying this to begin with? It helped me stop over purchasing and over consuming. Instead, allowed me to pause, be reflective, be aware of what was going on in the stories in my head, and then allow myself to intentionally purchase something or intentionally not purchase something. The second thing that most dramatically changed from minimalism, besides my buying habits, was time. The time that I got back. I used to pick up my house every night in 1 to 2 hours. Now it's 30 minutes or less. 30 minutes or less. It's a larger family now. We now have 3 kids. We have the same standards, the same values, but I'm done in 30 minutes. So I calculated how much time that's given me back. That's close to 2 full waking weeks a year that I get back just from that. That's not talking about the purchasing time, the returning time of items, I can't find my items searching through things. Like, no, this is literally from the end of day. Let's clean up things and be done for the night. 2 full waking weeks, y'all. Incredible. Minimalism also changed my expectations towards myself, in which I was able to give myself grace and realize that minimalism is a lifelong journey. It's not a one and done, yay, I minimized everything, I never have to go through things again. No, it's giving myself grace and awareness of where I am each season, and that it's this peeling of the onion, in which items I may need in this season, I may not need the following season. Minimalism also helped me go through my commitments and say intentional yeses and intentional nos to certain things in my schedule. And then the habits that have come out of it, so transformative. In my book, Own with Intention, I go through and I share 20 of those practices that I use still to this day to create this minimalist lifestyle and to create this life that I want and to have space and time with my loved ones and to do the things that I want to be able to do in this life. Minimalism helps me create this space in my schedule, in my time, in my expectations, just everything I just mentioned. And it also helps me protect it. If this story resonated with you at all, I want to invite you to do 2 simple things. First of all, subscribe to Enough Already podcast because I don't want you to miss any upcoming episodes. We are going to dive deep into honest conversation about habit transformation and minimalism, both in my life and in other people's lives. Secondly, share this with someone. If you had a colleague or a friend or a family member come to mind while you were listening to my story and thought, oh my goodness, they need to hear this podcast, please share it with them. That's the power of story. When we share our stories and how our lives were one way and now look differently, we can help others do the same in their own life. So this week, I hope you start becoming aware of maybe some of your buying patterns, some of your habits, some of the stories you tell yourself. Just become aware of what's happening in your head and in your home. Thank you so much for joining me today on this episode.